back to our all screen. Matt looks a little big, doesn't he? I mean,
Matt's kind of a big guy.
Yeah, well, we'll leave him like that.
I think he did shoulders. He did shoulders today.
All right, here we go. Silent count. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mike. And why are you looking at me like that right off the bat? Every time you look at me off the bat like that, it interrupts my train of thought, Laura.
Well, you said
Why?
silent count, and then all of a sudden she heard all of the numbers. I don't understand.
To count down out loud.
Well, just go with it. Now, you know what? This is how we're introing the show, Rob. This is it.
It's okay with me.
Folks, this is the sticky side. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Bird, and we got Rob Chismark over in Middleburg, Florida. I just changed
one of those
the
places.
city he lives in.
It's cool.
One of them. It
was awesome.
Something. Middle Earth.
In the middle. Middleburg.
Find those damn rings.
Balmy.
Oh.
Balmy 80 degrees here today. How about that?
80 degrees. Jesus.
80 degrees. Beautiful, sunny. Looked like spring.
Well, it was probably 60 here today. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, you guys need it.
Yeah, coming off of 2 weekends of snowstorms. Well, I guess you can't even really call that last one a snowstorm. It was like a dusting. It was like God had dandruff and wiped his hair.
Oh,
Why are you making that face?
She don't like it when you talk about God, man.
She just gave me a face, dude. I was like, I know she ain't.
God uses head and shoulders. Ba-doom.
So what you been up to, Rob?
Man, nothing. Just doing our thing. We had our conference tournament 2 weeks ago up in Andalusia, Alabama. In case you were wondering where that is, I am too.
I wasn't wondering.
It's up there somewhere. Up there somewhere in Alabama.
How'd that
nothing
go?
close.
Yeah.
It was good, man. There was well over 300 players out there. I did most of the live coverage on the Boardman Cornhole Facebook page. I had freaking 7-8 hours of coverage of different singles and doubles events, intermediate, competitive, advanced. It was awesome. Trey Hunt, he's a pro, ACL pro rookie. He won it all. He won the overall. There were 4 brackets in the advanced division in singles, and he took it all down. So that was pretty cool. It was actually my pick. I picked him straight out of the box. So that was pretty cool for that to happen.
You're pretty good at this picking winners, man.
Yeah, it works out for me.
Yeah, I mean.
You just look at who's playing good, man. I do a little bit of research, I watch what's going on around the country. And
there was also a ACL Open up in Kentucky, right, this weekend?
Yeah, so ours was the weekend before the Kentucky Open, and the Kentucky Open was this weekend. I actually didn't even see who won it, but I heard it was another pro rookie.
Damn it! If you
won the overall,
have said that, I could have told you because I read it. It was God, the top 3. I know Trey Birchfield was in there, and
Matt make
Brandon
it in there
Davis.
Again?
Eric Davis won it, I believe.
No.
It
was
sure?
I heard it was a rookie. Yeah, I heard it was a rookie pro.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I can look it up if I need to.
If you shut me down that quick, I'm gonna say it wasn't. But I could have swore I saw Eric Davis's name in first. Maybe it was something else. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the open season is coming right along. I think that was the 7th Open of the season already, and I think they're doing 12.
Oh,
so it's moving right along, that whole open season.
And I've yet to play in one, but that's got to change soon.
Yeah.
Well,
we got a national coming up too. In Vegas next Super Bowl weekend. Same weekend as Super Bowl.
I'll be part.
How's that for a segue? Come
on. Speaking of Super Bowl, all right. Hey, Rob, it's nice to have a show that's basically or primarily about cornhole, but it's nice to kind of get away from that every once in a while and bring in some other athletes that probably have never played cornhole before, or maybe they have and just haven't played it competitively like we have.
Right.
But today, man, we got a special guest. This guy. He is pretty famous in his own aspect. The Miracle in the Meadowlands, he is pretty much the catalyst of that play. My
the new
man,
Meadowlands.
Punter for the New York Giants, podcast host, and business entrepreneur, Mr. Matt Dodge. What's up, Matt?
Hey, I'm infamous, man. That's more than famous.
You know, I was going to say infamous,
that
but
is.
I didn't want to say infamous, but it kind of is, yeah.
Yeah. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, you returned the favor, well, I guess before, but you guys were down here in our little studio.
Yeah. That was a good time, man. That show came out today. You also are co-host with Billy Collins for the Magician and the Jock podcast.
Yep.
You know, we got a link to that on the show. You can just go check it out. I'm glad you came up here with us, man, because we're a show primarily about the game of cornhole, competitive cornhole. Rob.
Oh, you're serious. It's seriously about cornhole.
Yeah, seriously. It's called the sticky side, but you probably don't know what that even
Oh,
means.
Billy, I owed Billy $5. I was like, there's no way. I'm going to play along. It's nice to be with a bunch of other professional athletes.
Bro, I'm telling you, right? It is. Finally.
Hey, you're
We
welcome.
have some worthy
Yeah,
guests. Yeah.
We play before you play. You know, we're like the tailgate professionals as well.
Oh,
so
man.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. This is really cool.
Well, I hung up my pro status about 3 years ago, so I'm no longer a cornhole professional, like officially. Rob still is, but you know, it's like once you're a professional football player, right? Professional kicker, you're a professional kicker the rest of your life, right?
That's what I keep telling people. I say like
What?
quarterback, or I don't say punter.
You don't.
Well, people find out you're in the NFL, and we're in the NFL. I'm a like 6'2", 230, so I'm a good sized guy. And they're like, oh, you're like a quarterback or whatever. And I tell them I'm a punter, and just the look of disappointment on their face. It's like the tallest. It's like being the tallest midget in the circus, man. It's not much not much to brag about, but yeah.
I mean, you were drafted. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of punters don't even get that opportunity to be drafted. So
Right.
it's pretty cool that a guy like you got drafted and you're a punter. I mean, there's 22 on the offensive defense, and then really only two more, unless maybe the long snapper gets his own position too. But I mean,
Now,
you really,
it's
pretty important to be the guy that you were.
It is, man. My year, there's years where there's no punters or kickers that are drafted. My year, there was actually 3 punters that were drafted. Just kind of worked out that way. And I got drafted by New York in the 7th round, which I did not see coming. I didn't really talk to them much before the draft. And sure enough.
Like you got the call from Coach Coughlin. It was like, hey, Mr. Dodge, we want to welcome
Yeah.
you to the Giants.
Yeah. So basically, I'll set it up. It's kind of funny. So obviously, I knew I wasn't going to go first day. My agent was saying, hey, look, you got a good chance of getting drafted. I was number 2 in the country that year, and played in the Senior Bowl. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that, but I played with like Tim Tebow and some pretty big name guys. And 5th round came around, and 5th round was going to be, if someone's going to draft a punter, they're probably not going to do it before the 5th round.
Right.
So there was a couple teams that I thought I might have a chance with, Tampa Bay being one of them, and New England being the other. So I believe it was in the 5th round, New England had a pick, and they ended up drafting a guy named Zoltan Mesko from Michigan. Big lefty. And I actually played against him in the Senior Bowl. Great guy.
His name was Zoltan.
Zoltan Mesko.
Wasn't that like
They were
one
trying
of the
to get some
Power Rangers
wishes.
enemies? Zoltan.
Zoltar.
I always thought of like Zohan. Wasn't that the guy Adam
Yeah.
Sandler played? Like a huge bush?
Not Adam Sandler.
Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just said big bush. I think I've got my movies mixed up. But anyway, so he was drafted. So 6th round came around. Tampa Bay had a pick, and they took a guy named Brent Bowden out of Virginia Tech. I don't know how excited your audience is right now learning about punters, but this is hard hitting.
It is.
A simple Google search would do everything I'm doing right now. But they picked Brent. He played at Virginia Tech, who I had played a couple times, and I was like, well, all right, it's not going to happen. And back then, I was at my parents' house in Morehead City, and we didn't have cable. My mom hated cable TV. You know, she called it smut TV. I don't know if you guys have heard that term, but we weren't allowed to watch TV. And we'd always call it slut TV, and it'd make her really mad. But long story short, how we were keeping track of the draft was my dad just hitting refresh on like a Yahoo Sports page. Believe it or not, that's how and I was looking over his shoulder, and my buddy was actually getting married on that same day out in Solder Path, North Carolina, which is just a little coastal town. And I was just, it's not that I thought I was going to get drafted. Like if I did, it would have been awesome. But you know, those teams come up and kind of your ego comes in. They're like, yeah, man, I might get drafted. And they picked two guys ahead of me who I had actually done better than that season. So I was kind of pissed. And it was coming up to the time where if I'm going to go to this wedding, I need to get going. Solder Path is probably 25 minutes from the house. And I'm like, Dad, we all call him Diesel. I'm like, Diesel, dude, I don't want to sit here and like look over your shoulder and see this page reload and see another safety from God knows what college is taken. And, you know, at that point. So I'm like, I'm going to roll. And he's like, no, son, no, I think you need to stay. And I'm like, look, I'm over it. I'm ready to roll. So I got in my car and I left. And I was going over the Atlantic Beach Bridge. And I think I had a flip phone, the old red Razor phone back then. And I felt it go off, and it was a New Jersey number. And I did what probably every draft hopeful should do on draft day. I ignored it, right? I'm like, who the hell? I'm like, I don't know a damn soul from New Jersey.
You thought it was somebody trying to refinance your house, huh?
Yeah, it was someone like vinyl siding. And so I ignored it. And then I got the call again. And I'm like, oh, hell. Like, I don't know if I knew there was a lot of girls from New Jersey that went to East Carolina. I didn't know what it was. So I picked it up. And it was a woman who said, hey, is this Matt Dodge? I'm like, yes, it is. And she said, we'll call her Terry. This is Terry from the New York Giants. Here's Coach Coughlin. And I was like, what? handed the phone to Coach Coughlin, and he said, Matt Dodge. I said, yes, sir. He's like, hey, we're going to go ahead and take you in this next pick. You know, we look forward to seeing you at rookie minicamp. Here's Terry. She'll give you the instructions or whatever. And that's literally how fast it happened. It wasn't like my agent called me right before. You've seen them on draft day where they're like talking and they know they're going to get drafted. Man, I had no idea. So literally I just whipped the most illegal U-turn on the Atlantic Beach Causeway, flew back home. And that's as quickly as it happened. And, overnight I was a New York Giant.
So the bottom line is you missed your buddy's wedding.
Oh no, I went back, and trust me, I was a hot ticket that night. Good Lord.
Did you twist one off that night? Little celebration.
Boy, I was like shooting fish in a barrel that night.
But, hell yeah!
Well,
as a punter, by the way.
Oh, they don't care,
right?
Hey, that was a ticket out.
All right, so look, you made it to the NFL. I just got one thing, one observation when I met you face to face the other day. I was like, God bless, this dude is jacked. I didn't know you were that big, man. You're freaking jacked. You're like the punter on steroids or something. I know you're all natural though, by the way. But were you like were you like the most jacked punter or kicker in the NFL at that time?
Yeah, probably punter. I don't know if you heard of a guy named Mario Manningham. He was a wide receiver for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And he gave me a great nickname. He's like, hey, Dodge, we're going to call you Dak. I'm like, all right. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, diesel ass kicker. So that was my nickname. But no, I think I did 225, 23 or 24 times. That was
combine. Holy smokes!
I did it at my pro day. I didn't do it at the combine.
Okay,
but yeah, man, yeah, big arms, big paychecks.
Yeah.
Right,
So
well.
how many times did you get mistaken for a linebacker or a tight end? You should have.
Well, I'm only 6'2". I mean, those
Oh,
like I feel like I'm a pretty big dude around normal people, but those guys, I mean, they're freaks.
They're just giants,
yeah.
man.
They're, I
Yeah,
mean, I was like the size of a safety,
right.
but
Did
yeah.
did you use that size in college to take advantage of certain situations?
Well,
Yeah.
define those situations.
Well, you know, ECU's like the party college
Yeah.
of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
Well, you
come
can
here,
see from my.
girl, look at this bicep. Come here.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
did. We used to do what you call it the dead rat. So you got a rat in your pocket, and you squeeze that rat, and it shows the tricep. So yeah, we would do that, man. We had some dumbbells in the room right before we went out. So
Got to get that pump.
Do some push-ups before you walk into the club.
oh yeah,
That's
Doing that-
freaking awesome.
yeah,
So
man.
nobody goes and they don't start their life as I'm going to be a punter. What other positions did you play? I mean, being that big, and I'm pretty sure you're probably pretty athletic. When did you make the decision to be a punter, and what did you do before being a punter?
So I appreciate you saying I'm athletic.
I said
I,
imagine.
I was mistaken for another position until they saw me actually like run around, and they're like, "Oh, okay, he is." But no, I grew up playing every single sport. My favorite sport actually was roller hockey,
Nice.
which is like turns out there's more of a future in cornhole than there is in roller hockey. But it was that was my favorite sport. Played it year round, but I played basketball, soccer, baseball, everything. And football just happened to be, I always had a really strong leg, and starting freshman year in high school, my coach was like, "Hey, look, you got a chance to play college. You're not doing anything else besides kicking and punting." Which is cool. But you also kind of, if you stop hitting and stop doing that stuff, you kind of lose that edge a little bit. But yeah, I ran my 40. I ran 140 in college and like popped my hamstring out. So I don't even think I got an official
Damn.
time on it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, man.
That's terrible.
That is horrible.
In college,
Damn.
in
Right.
the early 20s at best.
Bro, look like I got hit by a sniper.
God forbid you go out there and try and run one now. Well, I mean, I'm older than you. There's no way in hell I'm going to get out there and try and run a 40. Seriously, I
You
might
ain't
die.
running- You ain't running
I could
nowhere, dude.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to walk a 40. You kidding me?
Well, so
That's
Matt,
crazy.
take us on this journey, man. I'm curious. What does the life of a football player look like? Like, take me from Monday to game day. Like, how's your routine go?
Well, maybe before I say that, what's your perception of it? Because I think a lot of people, we glamorize anything like that. So what would you, if you had to guess, what would you think it was like?
I would probably say up until preseason, you're probably practice Monday through Friday. During the season, you probably have like Monday off if you win. If you lose on Sunday, you're probably working on Monday. I'm thinking practice Monday through Thursday, maybe Friday off.
Yeah. I mean, so it's pretty much, I mean, it's a job, you know what I mean? It's kind of like college football, but you don't have to pretend like you're going to class, you know? It was, very, very just show up to the facility. The Giants had just constructed, I don't know if it was that year or the year before, like $100 million practice facility. It's got everything in it, and you just kind of report there in the morning. It's a lot of, for punters and kickers and long snappers, man, it's just a lot of hanging out because everyone else is in position meetings, watching film and breaking down film. There's only so much of watching me punt that you can do, right? So we'd have a special teams meeting, a team meeting, and then you just kind of get out of the way, but you have to stay at the facility. And, there was a fridge that had unlimited muscle milk, if you remember those things.
Yeah.
And I would I drank so many of those. Like, I'm like, these are free? And they're like, yeah. So I would just continue to pound those things. But
like Adam Sandler in the damn.
Bro, you did not want to be behind me, dude. It was a lot of high.
Yeah, those things have what, like 40-some grams of protein per serving?
Dude, whatever it was, man. They tasted way too good.
You sure couldn't process that.
Instant methane factory was Matt's ass.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so go to the facility. The biggest difference between pros and college. So how I equate it, if you make your high school team, that's like the best players on the middle school team, right?
Yeah.
But obviously it's a lot of them end up going to high school. If you play college, it's the best. Everyone on the team was the best player on their high school team. And in New York, the NFL's, everyone on that team, I was second team All-American, but everyone there was, right? Every single guy there was the best player. And it was a lot more laid back than college, like in terms of practicing, working out. I mean, these are grown ass men, they're making 10, 15 million a year. You're not going to have some strength coach with a whistle saying, do up downs, it's just not going to happen like that. So it's much more business-like. In college, we were all around the same age, right? So if you won a game, everybody's going out the same place. You got from 18, 19 to maybe 22 being the age group. And in the pros, you got anywhere from 22 to 35, guys with families and, mortgages. And so there's definitely a generational gap. You probably see that in cornhole. The rookies, like you said, come out, and then there's guys that are in their mid 30s, maybe close to 40, that are bringing their kids to the tournaments. It's kind of similar in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. How many balls did you kick in a day of practice?
Man, so I had a rubber leg. In other words, I would just. It's probably not smart. I actually lowered it a lot when I got to the NFL. I got to see how professionals worked. They worked way more on technique, and they were saving their leg. The NFL, man, that's a long ass season. You've got 4 preseason games and 16 regular season games. So that's 20 weeks back to back, including an off week. So I had to really. By the end of that season, your leg would start to get kind of heavy. It's kind of like a pitcher at the end of the year, right? His arm's kind of heavy. They got to really watch it. But I know in college, man, if I was struggling, I would just go punt. I mean, I can't even imagine how many thousands of. It's like a golfer at the driving range. I mean, I would just do endless. Good thing about the league, you have guys that are shagging the balls for you. So they'd go there, catch it, throw it back. Where in college you would just hit it and walk across the field. That would give you a little bit of a break, but man, if you weren't careful, you would end up hitting 50 or 100 balls really, really quick. And punting and kicking, it's a pretty violent motion. It's like a pitch, right? Yeah. Pitchers, they work up to that. So I had to really learn how to conserve energy, which was really tough because it'd be kind of nerve-wracking going into game day, and you're like, shit, man, I don't feel like I punted enough or worked hard enough. That's where you try and trust your technique.
How good a punter were you, man? Because you look at some of these kickers, and I know being a kicker and a punter is two different worlds. What's the kicker for the Bengals? What's his name? Do you know?
Is it McPherson?
Yeah, McPherson.
Yep. The Florida kid. Yep.
So they taped I think it was a beer bottle on the field goal post. And he stood back, and it probably took him about 30 tries, but he kicked the ball and unscrewed the top of the bottle. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
I haven't.
It was pretty freaking awesome, man. It took him a lot, so his accuracy is killer. Now, could you do something like that with punting? Could you aim like coffin corner and every time hit with
put it into a 50-gallon barrel?
Yeah,
dude, I couldn't even hit 100-yard worth of out of bounds. You think I'm gonna hit a damn beer bottle? Shit, come on, dude.
I wasn't gonna go there, not yet, Matt, but.
No, really, I want to bring so you were talking about technique. You were talking about game day. You get to game day and you didn't feel like you punted enough. What led up to, he mentioned it earlier about you being infamous. What led up to that short punt to Deshaun Foster or Jackson, right? Who was it?
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah. I don't know.
What happened? You know, honestly, was it just like you went out on Saturday night and that was it?
I had a dog die recently. You want to talk about that too?
It ain't that bad. Come on, you said.
I'm kidding.
It's so many years ago now.
Yeah, man, totally. So the wounds have healed. No, but so I'll answer yours. Mike, I'll go back to yours. So punting and kicking is much more precise, right? You either made it or you didn't. When you're punting, the field is 53 yards wide, so you can hit a shitty punt and get away with it. You know what I mean? You've seen those where they land and roll. There's a little bit more margin for error punting, and whereas kicking field goals, it's almost like we always said, because I kicked field goals too. I started playing soccer like most of these guys, and you try to kick every field goal like it's an extra point, right? So that's why you don't see, it's not like soccer where they kind of will bunt it if it's a short kick and then they adjust. I mean, it's the same kick every time. And you know pregame, hey, I'm good from 55, right? And to this end zone, I'm good from 55. Over here, I'm good from 52, right? The coaches know these numbers. Now, if it's the end of the game, like Justin Tucker, who I think will go down as the greatest kicker to ever play in the NFL,
without a doubt,
him hitting that bomb, you know, he actually took kind of kickoff steps to do that. But kicking is much more precise. Punting, I would say, is maybe closer to like kickoffs. But you're actually, you know, I always tell people, look, these footballs were designed to be thrown, not to be kicked, right? So I'm trying to kick a ball and actually make it spiral, which can be kind of difficult in the NFL. But there's another style of kick which I'm a lot more accurate with on the punt. It's called the Aussie punt. Have you guys heard of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I learned that my first training camp. I was in training camp with a guy named Jai Bond, who was from Australia, and that's where I learned how to do the Aussie punt. And
so tell us. I'm sorry, Matt. Let me interrupt you there. How do you do the Aussie kick? What's the difference between that kick and a traditional kick?
So how Jai said it, you have, and if my camera goes out, it's probably because it hibernates. I don't know how the hell to work this technology. So if it goes out, I'm still here.
All right.
It's like, but he called, there's two basic styles of a punt. You have what he called a torp or a torpedo, and that's where you're actually punting it to spiral. So the ball will actually kind of turn over, go like that. So that would be more for like an open field punt. If you're in, you know, you have the ball on your 30-yard line, so you have 70 yards to work with. Well, there you're trying to give it everything you got, right? Now the Aussie punt actually goes end over end, right? Hold on, I got a football right here. Hold on.
Okay. Hey, get that game ball you won, or you earned.
He's got a dog that died recently too. I mean,
Look, he used that same excuse on my podcast.
Okay, good. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, there
No
it
big
is.
deal.
Game ball.
No big deal. Yeah. So the torpedo punt goes pretty much like that, right? And it turns over. The Aussie punt is end over end. And this will probably make sense because there's probably different ways to throw bags based on how bags are sitting on the board, you know. But so Aussie punt, you're actually hitting the ball right here, right? So you drop the ball completely nose down, whereas the spiral punt, you're dropping it like that. So you're hitting it here, and it makes it go end over end almost, and it looks a lot like a kickoff or a field goal. Now, why you would want to do that, I don't know if you guys play golf, but
Yeah, I do.
if you've got a 100-yard shot, you could take maybe knock down a 9-iron or a pitching wedge, or you could grab a 60-degree wedge and just hit it normally and know like, hey, if I flush it, it's going to go 100 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way with the Aussie punt. So I had a really strong leg, you know, coming out of the, like I said, I was second in the country in average. I was like like John Rocker almost. If you remember that guy, he could
Infamous rocker for the Braves.
minus the Jewish comments, like minus that. Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
But
especially up there in New Jersey.
yeah, but so I was like that. I was a big ball hitter, but when we get to where we're on the opposing team's 40 or 45-yard line, and now you need to hit a 30-yard punt, right? That was the hardest thing in the world for me, right? It'd be the equivalent of playing golf, and you've got a 150
You
yard
choke up a lot, right?
Yeah, it's like having a 150 yard par 3 and you pull out a driver and you're like, how do I got to figure out how to do, maybe play a big banana slice or whatever. But when I learned how to do the Aussie, that was essentially like getting a pitching wedge in my bag. I could hit it as hard as I want and it would go maybe 45 yards max, right? But I could also kind of scale it back or whatever. And I wish to this day, I mean, punters nowadays coming up, kids are learning this in middle school. The first time I tried it was in a preseason game. I was pretty terrified, but I'm like, well, let's see if it works. And I can't tell you the amount of stress that took off of my life, because there's nothing worse than to getting in on the opposing team's, 42, 45 yard line and just selling it into the end zone. So you only net 20 yards on a punt, right? That's the worst thing ever. Coach is like, shit, we might as well have just gone for it. So learning that, but yeah, I'm really accurate with those. That was a really nerdy lesson in punting. I'm sorry.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll forget it in 20 minutes. But
everybody's like everybody's computer fell asleep.
So hibernated.
So Rob asked you about the miracle in the Meadowlands, which wasn't a miracle for you guys.
Yeah.
So take us play by play. Basically, you guys are playing the Eagles. It was tied up. What was it, 21-21 at the time? And y'all were playing for overtime. And y'all had
I think it might have been 31-31. It was something like that.
Okay.
Basically, so I'll set the stage. Deshaun Jackson, there are a few return men in the league
that are feared.
That when I say feared, like every meeting, every special teams meeting is like, this guy can't beat us, because you can run the most perfect. Devin Hester's another guy like that. You can run you can have perfect coverage, but those guys just make a play, right? They're just, if we can help it, keep it out of their hands. And the leading up to that, for open field punts, remember I told you the spiral punts, the goal was, hey, try to kick it out of bounds or at least get it close to the sidelines, because the sidelines actually kind of serves as another tackler, right? Just don't give them the whole field. And up to that point, I had a great game. Like I don't think he had any return yards. We had really kept him at bay. And if you remember back in that game, it was kind of a tale of two halves. That first half, we were dominating. We were up 2 or 3 scores at halftime, and we were rolling, dude. I remember I was having a great game. I was doing like Crank That Soldier Boy on the sidelines, if you remember that dance. I was just like, I was like fired up, man. And because it's such a relief when you play a game and you game plan so much, and this shit keeps you up at night, like anxiety of like waking up like, oh no, he caught it, and you're like, okay, I'm in my apartment, I'm good. And then so went to halftime, came back in the second half, and they had a guy named Michael Vick. Remember that guy?
Is he any good?
Well, depends who you ask. But yeah, there was a couple guys I watched in pregame. That's some of the most impressive. If you've ever been to a PGA event, I don't know if you guys ever been to one of those.
No, I never have.
Yep. I go to Sawgrass every year.
Yeah, I've been to a couple. I went to Quail Hollow, the Wells Fargo Championship. Like, I like following guys around, but it's almost funner to sit there at the driving range and watch them just hit balls. Like, it's just so pure. It's kind of like that in the NFL, watching them warm up. I remember watching Aaron Rodgers in pregame, but Michael Vick in pregame. I mean, it's a different level. Like, I mean, it's like a missile shooting out of his hand, whereas versus someone with a windup, But anyway, second half came around and it was completely opposite the first half. We couldn't do anything right. They couldn't do anything wrong. Long story short, they tied the game up. I want to say it was something like 31-31 or whatever. And somewhere around there, I guess that doesn't matter. But we got the ball back with like a minute 10 left, something like that. Which I thought, cool. Like, we've got Lawrence Tynes. We'll drive down, kick a field goal. We'll be good. And, this was the second time we played them. So it was late in the year, and it wasn't whoever won this game was guaranteed to go to the playoffs, but it was one of those, if you won it, you kind of could control your own destiny type of deal. If you lost, you were sitting here with all this team needs to lose. This team, we can get in if they tie or lose, all that kind of just weird math you have to do to try and make it. But I say all that to say it was an important game. Okay. And we get the ball back with a minute left. And like I said, I'm like, hey, we're going to drive down, kick a field goal. Well, I think first down, we like incomplete pass or whatever. The clock wasn't running, For me, little old Matt Dodge from Morehead City, North Carolina, I'm like, there ain't no way I'm gonna have to punt this ball. Like we're gonna either the clock. Yeah, I know. I'd done it. I punted like 6 times that game, dominated. Like, hey, let's be done with it. But basically, we got to 4th down, and there was something like 9, 10, 11 seconds on the clock, and it's 4th down. I'm like, oh no. Like, I knew what I had to do. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a pussy, but like there is that in those moments, it's very real. The nerves are very real because it means you're human, right? You know the gravity of the situation. And at my position, like all eyes are on you. You know what I mean? That's like they're not watching the left gunner to see how they got off the you know what I mean? It's and every single person in that stadium told me to kick it out of bounds. Like the guy selling hot dogs was like, hey, Dodge, out of bounds. You know what to do. And talked to Coach Coughlin. So that was my goal, obviously. And, not to make excuses, but the wind was kind of coming off my right just a little bit. I don't know, for cornhole, is there a wind that you don't like if you're a right-handed player?
All wind, probably.
For sure. Yeah, any wind in your face is bad. Whether and then depending on what your bag flight looks like, yes, left or right, coming left or right. Because if your bag flight isn't flat, it's not cutting through it the way you want it to, anyway. So.
Yeah. So for a right-footed punter, I don't know if you can see this. I'm dropping the ball like this, right? So the worst wind I can have is wind going this way because it drops the snap in. And you kick it a little bit inside. Well, that's exactly what happened. I caught it just a fragment inside, which went from, as you guys know, a bag. You mess up just a little bit. It's like shooting an arrow, right? If the arrow is a 0.5% off, well, you fast forward 60 yards down the field, it's way the hell off.
Yeah,
that's kind of what happened there. And he caught he didn't even catch it. It bounced. He bobbled it and got it.
Were you Aussie punting this one, or were you spiral punting this one?
No, this was an open field punt. If I could go back, I would definitely do the Aussie. 100% do the Aussie. But no, my goal was, because we were back in our own territory, I couldn't just hit it 10 yards out of bounds and be safe, because they would have the ball on the 30-yard line. So I had to get it 35, 40 yards out of bounds just to make it. If they got the ball back, they would have to essentially do a Hail Mary. But
so you thinned the shit out of this because of the wind.
It was like catching it fat in golf, where it doesn't go nearly.
A little hosel shot.
And it wasn't a shank. There is a shank in punts where it comes off the side of the foot. That's horrible. But long story short, he caught the ball, and I want to say, man, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. Like everything, which I could laugh about it now. At the time, it was pretty traumatic. Like,
oh, no doubt.
Like your whole team is running towards the sideline where the ball's supposed to be, and if you kick it over here, it's like a lot of WTFs, But it opened up, and it was just like slow motion, just guys getting like crack backed on, and I'm like, oh no. So he ran. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. So the players, all the special teams, thought you were kicking it one way, so they were automatically running that way off the
That's
snap?
where the coverage is. Man, the guy selling hot dogs thought I was kicking it that way. Didn't we just go over this? Jeez.
Yeah. I just wanted to hear you repeat it.
It's a little painful, man. It's that many years ago. Still got some pain in it. I love it.
Well, no, I'm a rational male now, so I can look at it logically now. But at the time, it was. I know Laura got a kick out of that comment. But
she totally just blew it off.
And so basically, it was like a lane where they're running down, and it was me and him, and Like I told you, I ran 140 in my life, tore my hamstring. You know who won that. He ran down. And like I said, there was something like 10 or 11 seconds. So it probably took him, it was probably 5 or 6 seconds before he really got the ball and was able to like make a couple moves. But he got to the goal line, had the presence of mind to look up at the scoreboard and see there was a couple seconds. So he actually turned parallel to the goal line.
Yep. Ran all the way to the other sideline. What a dick.
Like 3, 2, 1, then stepped in, walk off. And yeah, man, it was tough. We lost the game. And, you know, it showed me like, look, if you're going to make a mistake, do not be the last person to make the mistake. That's kind of what I learned, because there was enough blame to go around. I mean, we gave up a 3 touchdown or whatever lead, but that was, you know, I became kind of public enemy number one.
Well, that leads me to a story of my own about Tom Coughlin. I have a friend when Tom was here in Jacksonville, right? I have a friend who came up through the Arena League back then, 2003, 2004. He started his professional football career with the Jacksonville Tomcats of the Arena 2 League. Well, he kind of progressed through. He was an incredible kicker. Sounded like a shotgun when that dude would kick, and he did all the kicking for that team. Well, of course, we have a professional football team here as well. In the Arena, that they play opposite of the NFL, so they start now, and they play on their season. So Jim caught the eyes of the Jaguars, you know, the scouts, whatever, and he got brought on to the Jacksonville Jaguars as a kickoff specialist. And Tom happened to be the coach then as well.
Yeah.
So he made a few, you know, not so perfect kickoffs, and he kind of that was when the World League was still intact, so they sent him to the World League as one of their players, you know, one of their
NFL
detachments
Euro?
or whatever. Yeah, NFL Euro.
Yeah.
So they sent him as a detachment or whatever, but still and then he came back. Finally, he got cut, and when you hear him talk about it, Coughlin kind of blackballed him. So that was one of my questions for you, because you played 1 year in the league. You were drafted and only ended up playing 1 year. Is that something that happened to you that you have experience with? Is Coughlin that type of guy in your eyes, or do you still have somewhat of a relationship with him? Or
well, no, so I don't have a relationship with him. But no, I don't. If that were the case, I would have got cut right after that game. You know, I was brought on to the next year's training camp, so he gave me, you know, he was very gracious with me. I could have been cut many times, and justified, right? So he stuck it out. I mean, at the time that year, I had the highest average in Giants history. A lot of people don't realize that, but you know,
you got a game ball. Show your game ball off.
I was looking at that. I was looking at your stats from that year. I know. I mean, you had 72 punts that year, right?
I can't even remember.
Well, that's what Wiki says.
it was something. It was something like that. Yeah. 72 punts. I think I ended up averaging just under 45 yards a punt in New York, where it's freezing and windy all the time, which I was pretty proud about. But in terms of getting blackballed, if he did, no way. Because that next year, like I said, I played in training camp, and I had a great training camp. You know, the difference between the first and second one, holy hell, man. It's like going from a freshman to a sophomore. You know, the scariest thing is the unknown. But if you remember, that first off season was during the lockout. So I was down here, and that was probably the worst thing I could have done was come home, not because I got back like in the gang life or anything like that, but just you're distracted. But no, that year I was second in the preseason with my average of something like 47.1 or 47.2, which if you're number 2 out of 32 possible spots, you're usually going to make a team. Now, the problem was the guy I competed against, he was number 1. He was like 47.4. So I just got beat out, long story short. But that year, man, I had 15 or 16 different workouts. I was flying out every single week, trying out for teams. And, just never, the timing was never right. I would have a great workout for a team that didn't need a punter at the time. And other times I wouldn't punt well. And the next off season came up, I had 3 or 4 workouts, but slowly but surely you kind of fade out, because every year there's a whole nother crop of college punters, and as well as all the punters in the previous year. And so I don't know if I ever officially retired. I just think they just stopped calling me pretty much. So it's,
you.
Yeah, there wasn't they did.
Stupid.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So dumb.
Never heard that before. That was,
as Laura is giving me
That was
this look.
so original.
I do my best to contribute to the show. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
there
so
you go.
Matt, I'm curious, Matt, what does a punter make in the NFL?
There are rookie minimums regardless of your a year. So I signed a 4-year 2 point.
He went to sleep. We're still here.
They don't want us to know. Cameron doesn't want us to know.
It's Coughlin, bro.
I wasn't even. That's such a sign for what a rude question. You don't just ask people.
You can look it up. This is public
see?
knowledge. You can look it up.
Just want to hear it from a punter.
But no, I signed I'll be happy to brag about that. Don't ask me what I make now, but no. So I signed a 4-year, $2.4 million deal.
Bam.
Which sounds amazing. Yeah. The only thing guaranteed in that deal was the signing bonus. So you get cut. So once I signed, I think my signing bonus was like 60 or 70,000. So I could have got cut then, and that would have been the only money that was guaranteed. But I want to say that year rookie minimum was 320. So all in, I made somewhere like around 380, 390, something like that.
When they cut you, they don't owe you anything anymore. They don't have to buy you out or anything like that.
No. That's why you look at contracts. The things that really matter in these contracts, like you see that 10-year, $500 billion contract, you have to look in there how much of that's guaranteed and how much of that contract's based. A lot of it's performance based, right? If you you get another half. Did you see the thing where Gronk had to get one more catch and he got $1 million?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of what they call escalators in those contracts. But yeah, that was the base was 320. That might as well have been 32 million for me. At that time, right. I'd never made more than $500 in a week working like construction labor. So I was doing all right.
It's crazy to me because you said it was what, a 2-year, $2.some million contract, right?
It's a 4-year. Generally, rookie contracts 4 years. Yeah.
So why do they even call them contracts? They're more like temporary agreements. Because contracts you seem are like locked in. You're guaranteed this. If it's a contract, you can't break the contract. I guess you can't. The only people that can break the contract are the owners. If they feel like.
Yeah, you're an employee. You're one of the highest paid employees, right? So that 4-year, that's more for them, right? But you'll see some big time rookies will try to renegotiate that 4-year deal, in year 3 when they're making rookie minimum, and which is it's a lot compared to what their friends who graduated from college are making. But in comparison, their production is worth 10 million and they're making 700,000. That's why they want to try to come in there and renegotiate. But it's more they own the rights to you essentially. I don't know, it's 4-year contract, but the thing that's important is the guarantees.
Yeah. Well,
do you maintain any relationships? I mean, that was a while ago, but do you maintain any relationships that you made through your pro career?
I mean, you know how dudes are. You can go 5 years without talking to a dude, pick a phone up and pick right up where you left off. So, not really. I mean, Lawrence Steins, I'm still friends with. I'm probably closer to the guys I played college with, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're like I said, man, a lot of those guys had families. I'm still friends with Steve. I flew out to San Diego, trained out there with Steve Weatherford, and what was the kicker? God, I got him in my phone too. He kicked for the Saints for a long time. older guy. But anyways,
Moorhead.
Wait,
no, we're talking long time ago. But anyways, I went out to his
Casey before he went to the Panthers?
No, I knew John too. I did a camp for John when I was in college. But yeah, it's definitely a fraternity. But no, I don't keep. Maybe like right after I did, but you know, it's hard once that association. The reason we were friends is because we were on the team. You know, long story short. And once that team goes away, that's kind of the glue. I remember that in college after my last game. It was really weird because at the time it was 3 straight years that I was at East Carolina. I transferred from App State. You know, I remember going back to the locker room after our final bowl game, clearing out my locker, and it was just a weird vibe. Like, I'm not on the team anymore, right? And it's just people kind of look at you a little bit different. So not in a rude way or anything like that, but I mean, Mike, you can talk about that with the military. Like, once you're out, they say all this stuff, hey, we want to help transition military, but their focus is always going to be on who's currently in, right? Just like the college is always going to be focused on who's on the current team. Like, yeah, we care how our guys do, but not really, right? It's not going to win us any football games.
Right. Bottom line, business.
Yeah, for real. And you're kind of right. I mean, I guess the military now, they're trying to, do more for the veterans, with VA and all that stuff. I'm picking up their standards. But I definitely get it, what you're talking about. Yeah. And before we get off of your football career and move on to something else, do you have any, stories? What's, the craziest story you got from your playing days in New York? I know you told me a story about Eli one time. Yeah, so I get a lot of – I still remember the first time I saw him in the cafeteria. I'm like, holy shit, man, that's Eli Manning. Like, love or hate him, that's somewhere – he can walk in just about any room in America and people are going to know who he is. So that – it was cool first time seeing him. I guess my hazing – I don't even know if that's a curse word now, but rookies – can't do it now.
You got to do – so I had to get up in front of the team and sing a song. You get up and you tell your contract and all that stuff. First time I did it, I sang Bing Crosby, White Christmas. So I sang that.
Nice.
And I thought that I'm like, oh, I got to sing. Oh, I know what I'm going to sing. Like this, my mom tells me I sound amazing every Christmas when I sing this one. They were not as receptive to the White Christmas. And if they don't like what you're singing, they'll start chanting cold tub, cold tub, cold tub.
Oh, no.
But they're like, all right, you need to come back tomorrow and you better have a banger or we're going to tie your hands and feet together, throw you in a cold tub. I'm like, like you're going to murder me? Like, this sounds like the cold tub's like 4 feet deep. But I did some research and I sang the song from Hangover. What
Sweet.
Do tigers dream of? So
Yes.
I sang that, and they all clapped. And they
That's
let
a
me
banger, bro.
But yeah, so all rookies have to do that. But I remember there's hazing too, right? So you would go out to practice at training camp, and you'd see a rookie's car, just no tires on it, and on the 50-yard line on the practice field, and you're like whose car is that? But it's. I'm sure there was similar stuff in the military too, right? You gotta, that's how we communicate. If you're not busting my balls, you're not my boy,
Yeah.
At least that's how I slept at night. But there was one night or one day, and I hadn't gotten bad. Like I didn't have to shave my eyebrows. I didn't really have to do any of that stuff. I remember I went to bed and we were staying in dorms at the University of Albany, and got in bed, and that next morning you wake up, go look in the mirror, right? Just like, all right, we got to go to whatever, eat breakfast, then we got meetings. And I look in the mirror and I'm just like, and I look and my skin is like dyed. Like I can't remember if it was orange or purple, but it was like dyed. Not like a marker, like a tattoo or something. It was just bizarre. And I looked, it was like all over me. Immediately start Googling like dorm room diseases that change your skin color. And I mean, I'm talking, this shit was everywhere. And
I'm badass razor flip.
Dude, everywhere. And, I had a smartphone. I signed a $2.4 million contract. Me? Bruh, I had that droid then. So I'm like, of course, all my roommates are rookies. They were like, man, we don't know what to they were looking at me like I had leprosy. But I get into the locker room and I can see there was one of our tackles named Rich Soybert. If you look him up, you'll see he looks like a prankster if you see him. But I walk in and he's like, effing kicker. Basically what he did, he had contacts on the NYPD, and those if you rob a bank, those bags where the ink will shoot out.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, he got, I guess you can get that in like powder form.
Oh no.
He sprinkled it all over my bed, and when it touches liquid, that's when it expands. So like obviously you sweat, dude. I had to throw away all my clothes. I had to throw that shit. That shit was on me for months. Like you find a splotch and it would just start to shoot out. And right around that same time, if you remember, I was replacing a guy named Jeff Fiegels, who had played in the NFL 22 years. And I want to say he announced his retirement either the day before or that day. So I'm doing press conferences looking like tie-dye leper. And they're like, how do you feel about replacing a legend? I'm like, dude, I just want to make sure this shit's not permanent for the rest.
Uh-oh. No.
It's my life, man. That was a really good prank.
I wonder, can we find that news conference on the internet somewhere? Oh my God.
I haven't been able to find it. That's how I remember it. It might've been a couple days off, but it was right around that time he was gone. And,
that is amazing.
Yeah, that shit was everywhere. But he'd get in your clothes and just amazing. You would wash your clothes. If it was on this one shirt, it would be everywhere. I don't know what that stuff is, man. But it's like glitter, dude. You can never get rid of it.
You think Fiegels had a hand in this? Hey, he was like, hey, get that rookie good for me. He's replacing a legend.
Yeah, screw him. He's not going to have a hard enough time. Let's dye his skin. He was cool.
I was telling Mike before you got on air, my niece is on Eli's winter basketball team. He's the head coach of a basketball team in Jersey. My brother lives in Summit, and Eli is still doing his thing up there. So he coaches my niece in basketball.
Heck yeah. Have you guys watched the Manning brothers Monday Night Football?
Oh man, that is amazing.
It's the only way to watch football.
For sure.
Unless you watch it on Nickelodeon with the slime.
Yeah. I would never do that.
Dude, Eli and Peyton are amazing, dude. They're funny as hell. So.
Well, didn't you tell me, Matt, that you gave Eli your phone or something?
Oh, yeah. So after training camp, one of the last nights, you have a big blowout party, and we were playing, and I was FaceTiming with the girl, and I'm sitting here like, hey, I need to shoot real quick, talk to this dude, and I handed it to Eli, and she's like, but he's like, what are you doing talking to this douchebag? And I handed it back to him. So he, that bought me some cool points there for a while. Yeah, he was quiet, but he was the biggest prankster on the team.
Yeah, Laura looked up that guy, Sobert, and yeah, he definitely looks like he was trouble.
He looks like a truck driver.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that guy. But you know what? If you take that shit in stride, just like in the military, hey, just take it, because the more you act like it doesn't, or the more mad you get. There were some rookies that would act really offended. I'm like, you realize this is why it's never going to end, because you're being a baby. Just say, yes, may I have another, and they'll walk away. So
now, now your football is over. You come back to Morehead City, and you're a financial consultant now?
Yeah, financial planning, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what brought that along? Was that something that you always wanted to do outside of football, or you were just like, hey, I think I can do this?
No, just kind of random, man. Actually, my financial advisor that I had, once I was done, he introduced me to the business, said, "Hey, I think you could do really well at this." I didn't go to school for finance, any of that stuff. But started in insurance and then slowly, got all my securities licenses and stuff. And now I work primarily with retirees. So it's just kind of a gradual, whatever, right? You have your kind of raw natural talents, and then you try to see, all right, how do I tie how Matt's wired into something productive? And that's how it worked. But yeah, so I've been in that for a while, but my definite passion has been and all is now and has always been content creation, stuff like this. And you comment, or we said earlier on the show, you came on our podcast. I started that with Billy probably 6 months ago, just random. And I had just been consuming. YouTube came out when I was a freshman in college. That was back there in the glory days of YouTube. It was like half YouTube, half E-Bombs world, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So I've been consuming YouTube forever. I don't have any other social media. Well, LinkedIn. It's like Facebook for grown-ups, but I love
garbage.
Yeah, it's always like I won't comment. It's just a big.
You don't want to get kicked off the platform. We get it.
Yeah, they're brave. Everyone's brave.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to a guy I was following on YouTube, and he said, "Look, you need to get addicted to your phone, but instead of consuming content, start producing it." And that little it flipped a switch in my mind where I'm like, he's absolutely right, because I was a consumer, right? I'm like, I need to get on the other side, right? Instead of reading the news, make the news. Instead of reading books, write books. And so I'd already written a book before, always been producing content, but there's that initial fear of like putting something out, holding yourself out like, hey, I'm important. I have a channel. And I just got with Billy and like, dude, let's film some stuff. I don't want to edit anything. I don't want to do anything. I just want to get in front of a camera. You hit record, hit publish. I just got to get over this initial hump, and started doing it. Saw that I didn't spontaneously combust, and I didn't, wasn't canceled or whatever those fears are. It could happen.
Past couple of nights, I thought you were going to blow up.
Yeah, dude.
You and Billy.
So,
Rob, let me tell you. So, I went to Morehead City.
Oh shit!
Me and Laura went to Morehead City a few days ago. We did their show. Now, his studio is inside his office, and they have a green room stocked with alcohol. If you need a haircut before you go on the show, you can get a haircut. Barbershop. Yep. And they got a pretty nice studio, man. It's set up nice. And, they got the Magician and the Jock podcast. I know Billy Collins. He's there, right? What's up, Billy?
Billy's gone, man.
He's ghosted. He's gone. Well, okay. It's a pretty good show, man. I like their setup, but the past couple of nights, him and Billy, man, they've been like, I can't get this camera to work. My software OBS doesn't work. I see this picture he took of Billy with his hand in his face down on the table. He's like about to just throw his shit out the window. And I'm like, man, we've all been there, man. It's the struggles of podcasting.
Yeah, that was some of the hurdles too that kept me from producing content. Is this really big perceived barrier to entry, and I'm a big reader. I read a lot of Earl Nightingale, and he said something: "Stop competing, start creating," and that's just kind of what I've been on a mission doing. I've been creating content forever, but I've been kind of like Creed from The Office, where he had that blog, but it was just on a Word document, like that's because writing really is my passion. That's like very therapeutic, but it was just always on a Word document, and I never shared it out, except to friends and stuff. And they're like, dude, start putting this shit out here. Who knows? I mean, if it sucks, worst thing's going to happen. No one's going to see it, and then slowly but surely, with one camera turned to 2, turned to 4, it's been a lot of fun, but man, you just got to hit record.
That's it, man. I enjoy it, but there's a lot of headaches with it, and we're still in our infancy. We got me and Rob. What is this, Rob? Is this episode 25?
Yeah, I think it's right at 25.
25.
Or it might be 26, but yep.
Yeah, man. It's all about putting content out there, man, and getting studs like you on the show.
Consistency, I think that's where you gain a lot of ground, is just being consistent. And that's something we've been able to do, here on the sticky side. So it's really cool having a guy like you, come on here and have great stories.
You guys hit the jackpot, dude.
Hey, bro. And actually, when can we team up for a cornhole tournament?
Hey, man, I'll come drink.
Well, I mean, you got to throw bags too.
Bro, I just talk trash, man. I'm the best trash talker, but you guys will be so good. It's
you're not
fun.
Hey, look, Rob,
you're not that good of a trash talker. Not when it comes to cornhole.
No, hey, look, Rob. So I'm gonna take Matt to Worlds with me this year. He's gonna be my partner. We're gonna play in the competitive.
That'll be great, dude. That'll be fun.
Worlds in Kernersville, North Carolina, or something.
No, it'll be in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock Hill. Yeah.
No, I make fun, but it's crazy how, there's communities for everything, dude. You can just go on YouTube and Google or just look up pineapple volleyball, and you'll see there's a channel with 500,000 subscribers. So that's one really, really cool thing about this. I mean, you're building a community of what most people would consider, hey, I play that at barbecues and tailgates, but it's pretty neat what you guys are doing.
Rob, I mean, Doug Flutie was involved with cornhole, right? I mean, he did something with Matt Guy. Is there any other NFL players that were involved?
Yeah, I mean, Terry Kirby is a very avid player in South Florida. He played for a few teams in the NFL, so he plays quite a bit, and he's good. I
can see a lot of athletes doing it, because athletes we I really took to golf because I had to find something to do competitively, athletically once I was done playing. So I could see a lot of guys.
What's your handicap?
I was single digits for a while. Then I haven't played for a while. But you could now. I'm probably at 15 now, but I was down 6 or 7 at my local course.
Let's plan it. Let's go play around. I play golf a lot, man. Well, not a lot. Maybe 6-7 times a year.
Yeah, that's about me now.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm like a 21 handicap, so that sucks. That's like shooting 99 or something, 99 to 105.
Dude, the average golfer never breaks 100, so it's. But yeah, so I could. Do you think cornhole and golf are kind of similar? Because it's something that
definitely mastering a repeatable swing.
Yeah,
it's definitely that, and I think if you have any athletic prowess, which it seems that you do, I think you would find success quickly, Yeah, I think you'd be all right.
Go to YouTube and just search cornhole, ACO, and look at the way these people throw. It's pretty eye-opening. I know you probably played in the backyard where it's you get 2 on the board, 2 off the board, but in pros and in the advanced level, you're talking 3 in the hole, 1 on the board, if not all 4 in the hole every time. So
yeah, dude, I've got some buddies that are just, it's not even fun playing with them. They're just so good. Is there a handicap system with cornhole?
No,
just different divisions, really. So novice division, intermediate, competitive, and advanced, and then the pro division is really how they handicap it. So
yeah, they do have.
It would be pretty cool if they could.
They have a way of classifying everybody, though. Like a baseball player's batting average, of course, the higher it is. But in cornhole, they have, a brain fart, Rob, save me. PPR. Oh, my God. Laura is here. Laura saved me on that
Points per round.
Yeah, so the higher your PPR is, the better, supposedly, cornhole player you are.
I got it, which would be your average score in golf, what your handicap is.
Yeah.
But golf is obviously, there's a lot of variance from course to course. Cornhole, I mean, it's the same distance, same, it's almost like basketball kind of, but I don't know. Do you guys consider it a sport?
I think it's just as much of a sport as golf is, or bowling.
I mean, it is definitely, or darts, it's definitely they call it the fastest growing sport. So
Yeah.
That's what the sports people call it. We're on the Excellence in Sports Programming Network. So.
No, I wasn't hating on it.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you listened to a lot of Opie and Anthony. There was back in the day, there's Patrice O'Neill, and they were on there like saying what is a sport and what isn't. And Patrice was just so brilliant, man.
Yeah.
But he was saying it's not a sport if there's no defense being played. And I'm like,
well, there is defense. There's definitely defense in cornhole. Yes. It's where the block bag comes in and things like that. So there's plenty of defense to be played. In strategy, strategic defense. So
versus like where bowling there isn't, right? You're not like
right.
Yeah, I got you.
Straight offense and bowling. Yeah, cornhole has all aspects of the game. Actually, your story, the Miracle in the Meadowlands, how your team's offense put you back on the field because they sucked, and then you punted the ball to Deshaun Jackson. I know we tried to forget that, but I brought it back up.
I didn't say those exact words, by the way.
I know. I said it. He didn't say that. But
that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. We're
that whole
okay.
team's probably retired now. But anyway, that's basically what happened. You shouldn't have been back on the field to kick that punt. Y'all should have scored and game over, field goal. But they didn't. So that exact scenario happens in cornhole a lot, right, Rob? Like you're playing with your partner. You're playing with your partner, and it's 19 to 15. You guys are up. All your partner has to do is score 2 more points, but he chokes or she chokes and throws 2 off the board and 2 on the board, and then you end up losing the game when y'all could have won it off that one round.
Or they tie it, or they bring it back down to you, and you're the one who kicks it to fucking Deshaun Jackson.
Exactly. That has happened so many times in my cornhole career, man. But yeah,
you kicked it to Deshaun Jackson. If I ever want to find where that guy is in the world, I just kick a ball and he's like, I'm like, hey man, I just want to say hello.
Oh, damn.
Well, it's funny. I remember playing golf after that. I hit a drive out of bounds, and my buddy's like, "You didn't have any problem hitting that one out of bounds?" And I'm like,
"Oh
no,
poor man scramble."
How long after that did you get the brunt from that? Like, how long?
Are you kidding me? 10, 12 years?
Yeah, but
infinity.
But now he can joke about it. I'm sure a year after.
30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
No, nothing bad. I mean, like people would ask. I mean, fans. I don't know. It's a public sport, so fans can. I mean, there's sometimes you just want to punch them in the mouth, but they don't understand what they're asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just like, did you mean to kick it to him?
Yeah,
like
sure did.
You tell they've never played a sport in their life though, so you give them the benefit of the doubt. But I remember I came home, did a big talk to like this big church group, and shared my testimony, all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, has anyone got any questions about the NFL? And this one guy's like, how fast is Deshaun Jackson? I'm like, is that the only damn like the only thing he heard? That they were just waiting for me to shut up.
He lost his salvation right then.
Well, there's a pretty cool picture. There's a pretty cool picture that shows his speed with you laying on the ground, which I'm going to post right here so everybody can see it.
Come on, man.
Pretty funny.
I thought this dude was your friend, bro.
Nah,
oh, well, if you're not ribbing him, we ain't really boys.
Yeah,
I heard him say that.
This is out of love. This is out of
love.
I
heard him say that.
You were on my show, Hammered, last year around this time, and I think I like having you on every Super Bowl month. You know, what's your prediction? You got the Bengals or you got the Rams?
If you would have asked me, like, if I thought they had any chance of being in the Super Bowl, I would have said no. I'm going with Bengals, dude.
I like Bengals too,
man.
Just
team of destiny? Is that?
Joe Burrow, man. Joe Burrow.
His name, Joe. It's great.
Big Dick Joe. Mm-hmm. That's what they call him, dude.
Big Dick Joe. Locker room joke? I don't know. Look, there's great Joes. You got Joe Montana. You got Joe Namath. Now you got Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's a solid pick, but they can't protect the guy. If you can't protect him, how in the hell are you going to even come close to protecting him with that defensive line coming at you every play? not to mention the defensive backfield for the Rams is. Tell me how they're going to protect poor Joe.
Dude, he got sacked 9 times in that one game and still won.
Still won.
Yeah.
So
pretty sick.
Dude, he's a winner, man. Like, that guy is a winner. But I wouldn't be mad. Matthew Stafford, I mean, he's been serving purgatory in Detroit for 12 years to come out here, you know. But yeah, I'm going for the Bengals.
It's a shame Detroit doesn't draft a quarterback like Matt Stafford that can take them to the Super Bowl.
Isn't that crazy? Well, it shows like the mindset in the locker rooms. Like, the Chiefs expect to go to the Super Bowl. Wherever Tom Brady is, that's the expectation. I mean, hell, he was in the Rams were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so that's the expectation. In Detroit, that's not the expectation. So you're always going to live up to your expectations.
It's like a bad aura in that locker room, man. It's just like the Jets. They're just known as losing teams, but look what happened to the Bengals. The Bengals were under Marvin Lewis for years, and they sucked every year. They get a new coach. Last year, they sucked last year, though, didn't they? Because they didn't have Joe Burrow. He was hurt.
Oh, they had him.
Yeah, but
they were okay
for most of the year.
Right.
And then he comes back his first full year. They're in the Super Bowl, man. So.
Well, I mean, hell, they were 10-7 this year. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they went undefeated. But it shows how important your quarterback is. Like, they've had Stafford. I mean, Detroit had Stafford, but I don't know. I think that's more just they expect to lose. It was kind of like the Cubs forever, you know, until they were over the hump. But man, I have a hard time betting against Joe Burrow.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm totally going for the Bengals. I'm not really a big Rams fan. They beat my Niners. I used to like the Niners before the Panthers came around, so now I'm just going for the underdogs, quote unquote. I know they're pissed for being.
It's kind of in their home stadium, so
yeah,
you know, maybe though. Did you hear that game? Did you watch that 49ers Rams game and listen to how many 49ers fans were there? That was unbelievable.
It won't be like that for the Super Bowl. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Who knows? SoFi might make another mistake.
What do you think about the GOAT retiring there, Matt?
Oh man, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. I saw a meme. I'll have to send it to you, but he basically had 3 Hall of Fame careers.
Right.
Statistically.
Yeah.
Put them together. I mean, what he accomplished, that's like twice what Jordan accomplished.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean,
if you look at it like that, if you can compare them, it's not really apples to apples, but 7 Super Bowl wins along with 2 or 3 losses. That's disgusting to be going to that many Super Bowls.
I mean, he led the NFL this year, in yards and touchdowns or something like that. I mean,
he went out on a high note, man. Like, he should be coming back. I saw a meme that said that,
I think he might.
That Tom
I
Brady,
do too.
That Tom Brady said that he was going to keep playing until he sucks. And then there was another picture of him saying, "Fuck this, it's taking too long." And he just retired.
Dude, he beat time. When I send you this meme, it blew my mind. Like, it showed everybody that, like, 1/3 of his career he beat Dan Marino, and it was just insane to think how long he played. So it's going to be really weird. It's probably going to feel the same as like when LeBron retires. Love or hate the guy, he's been such a staple for so long.
I hate to see him go.
It's like Ben too. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's a guy who's been around a long time as well. Seeing him go, for me, I'm a Browns fan, so seeing him go for me is like, it's like a bittersweet. I'm glad he's gone, but holy crap, what an unbelievable career that guy's had as well. Sure, he doesn't scratch the surface of Brady, but he's been around a long time, and they've never had a losing season as long as he's been on the field.
Yeah, he's been productive for a long time.
Yeah, he's 44 years old. He was giving the old guys like me hope that there still is life for us in our 40s. You know,
dude, isn't that a Bill Burr skit where he's like, "I was watching, and guys that are around my age are all retiring from the NFL, so I guess that dream is over." You know, so it's like,
all right, so there you have it. That's
awesome.
Our NFL player, Mr. Matt Dodge, just picked to win the Super Bowl. Bengals. Well, hey, look, Matt, we appreciate you being on the show, man. I think we're going to go ahead and end it on that note, man. Check out the Magician and the Jock podcast with Mr. Matt Doge.
Matt Doge.
Do they kind of, do you use a jock like loosely? I don't know. It's a punter. I mean,
I used to wear a jock.
There you go. That's jock wear.
I've been called worse. So.
You're smarter than a jock, though, bro. That's not even. It's not a fair description.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, like and subscribe to Naughty Donkey YouTube channels. Check out Boardman Cornhole, and we'll see you next time on the Sticky Side. Peace out, Rob, Matt.
See ya.
Cause we all just wanna be cornhole stars saying cheap hotels and driving beat up cars. The crowd gets crazy and the beers ain't cheap. We get drunk all day so we just don't eat. And we hang out at the local bar, throwing bags in the hole like we have